What is up, Pats Nation? It is Patriots Global here with another video, that a subscriber suggested, and I just loved the idea of the video, so thank you for that. You know who you are. So today I am going to be talking about 5 reasons how the Patriots defense got better. So first off, I have that the cornerback situation got way better, believe it or not. This has been what I think one of the biggest things to keep an eye on this offseason, and although Malcolm Butler signed with another team, that being the Titans, I still think that it's pretty easy to give this position an upgrade for the Patriots. Look guys, the truth of the matter is that Butler played like trash last year, and honestly, I think that one of the problems was the pass rush. If you look at past years when Malcolm Butler did well, the Patriots' pass rush was actually decent. And the small 5'11 cornerback just cannot cover for too long. So I think a big reason Malcolm Butler had trouble this year was the fact that he had to cover wide receivers and halfbacks, tight ends. He had to cover all of them for longer than he usually would. But I'm not making any excuses for him. He played like trash, and he got cut because of it. Well, I guess not cut, but the Patriots didn't make a huge push to sign him. This offseason, the Patriots added Jason McCourty, who was graded higher as a cornerback this season than Malcolm Butler was. Now, I'm not saying that Jason McCourty is a better cornerback than Malcolm Butler, but if you're comparing Malcolm Butler and Jason McCourty for how they played last year, McCourty is a way better cornerback and a way bigger upgrade. McCourty also adds some chemistry and a familiar face for other players like Harmon, Chun, etc. Also, with McCourty, we're getting a bit more height than we did with Butler, as McCourty is 6'2", and again, Butler is 5'11". The Pats added many pieces to cornerback, not to mention Jonathan Jones, who was starting to shine before the injury at the end of the season. The Patriots really like J.C. Jackson, as he is getting a lot of reps and starting sides next to Stephon Gilmore. And also Keon Crossan, that I talked about in a previous video, has been a player that has definitely caught coaches and fans' eyes. The Patriots also have Duke Dawson, who was a second-round pick in this recent draft, and Eric Rowe, and some other cornerbacks. So this will be a really fun offseason for the fight for those couple roster spots on the 53-man roster. But I ultimately believe this will really bring out the best in each of the cornerbacks as they are fighting for this position. I'd imagine that at least one of the rookie cornerbacks that gets cut will be put on the practice squad as long as another team does not sign them. Alright, for number 2, I have pass rush. The pass rush definitely got more interesting, and we'll definitely see an improvement this year. Last year had to be one of the worst years I've seen this Patriots defensive line, and I'm sure that the Pats thought after losing Chris Long and Jabal Shear to free agency that they would be good, but oh boy, were they wrong. Having a good defensive front is a great way to force turnovers and win games. I mean, if you look at the Jacksonville Jaguars, the Minnesota Vikings, the Philadelphia Eagles, they all had star defenses. And if you look, it's not that they necessarily had an amazing, great, top 5 elite backfield. It is a big reason for their defensive fronts and how they had some of the top defensive fronts. Having a good defensive front is a great way to win games, which is a big reason why the Patriots lost the Super Bowl. The Patriots added Adrian Clayborn, who will for sure add some pass rush to the edge. Vincent Valentine is also coming back from the IR, and he is a player people really forget about, but his rookie season wasn't terrible, and I think he could really help get some type of pass rush going, along with Adam Butler and possibly even Danny Shelton. The Pats also got some help at linebacker, which will let Hightower and Van Noy set at the edge if need be. Let's not forget, Hightower had 2 sacks in the very, very, very few games and reps that he played. I don't know exactly off my head how many games he played, but I know for a fact that it was only a few games. And even in those few games he played, he didn't get a ton of reps because he was getting injured. But yet he still found a way to rack up 2 sacks already. So adding him will definitely make this pass rush go ballistic. Derek Rivers is also a player to watch, as he didn't get to play last season due to an ACL injury in the preseason. He's been compared to players like Khalil Mack with his stats, so although we haven't seen much of Rivers, I truly believe he will help the Pats defense get some pressure, as he is getting an extreme amount of reps at defensive end during these past OTAs. We also can't forget about my guy Deatrich Wise, who is coming off a pretty great first rookie season. I mean, he racked up 5 sacks and a pass defense, which was actually almost an interception until he dropped it, so it only counted as a pass deflection. With stats like those in his rookie season, I think from his going into a second season, we will see a bigger impact with Deatrich Wise. With new pass rushing coach Joe Kim, I can guarantee you that this pass rush will be way better than it was last season. For number 3, I have the run stopping getting better. Run stopping, or stopping the run, I should have probably wrote it that way, was a huge issue for the Patriots this past year, considering they were I believe it was 30th in stopping the run. The Patriots lost Dante Hightower, Vincent Valentine, and then cut Alan Branch for a terrible play after signing him to a 3-year extension. Like I said before, this year's Patriots defensive line was terrible, as I've again mentioned before, and the Patriots couldn't stop the run to save their lives. They brought in Cassius Marsh after Derek Rivers got injured, but Cassius got bullied and couldn't stop the run to save his dang life. Throughout the entire year, the Patriots were adding and cutting new players to the defensive line. This offseason, the Patriots added Danny Shelton, who is a bigger defensive tackle and is mostly known for his ability to stop the run. His pass rush for sure isn't special, but him stopping the run will be a huge upgrade and will add a bigger body next to Malcolm Brown and Lawrence Guy. The Pats also added Adrian Clayborn, like I have mentioned before, who will help stop the running back and even the quarterback, which was also a huge issue for the Patriots last season, especially, quarterbacks that were scrambling all the time, like Tyrod Taylor, Marcus Mariota. Just any quarterback that could scramble was an issue for the Pats. But with Adrian Clayborn at the end, it will help because that seemed to be one of the toughest times to stop the running back. The Pats also drafted Christian Sam, who was ranked as 7th best run stopper according to PFF. The Patriots also drafted Juwan Bentley, who is a huge linebacker who will for sure be able to stop the run and might even replace Eldon Roberts. And if I'm not mistaken, I believe Juwan Bentley was ranked 3rd best run stopper in PFFs. Well, not in PFFs, but according to PFFs, you know what I meant. With the new additions of linebackers, Hightower and Van Noy can play outside linebackers instead of playing inside linebackers, and they can go and they can stop these running backs playing to the side and the quarterbacks that rush to the sides. For number 4, I have linebackers. So linebackers is something I basically already kind of covered in what I've already said, but I'm going to try to shed a little bit more light on this. So this linebacker core was already better without the Patriots making any more signings. Hightower is coming back and will not just add pass rush and coverage, but will also add leadership and motivation, which is something that was lacked last season. The Patriots also brought back Marquise Flowers, who was a very underrated linebacker this past season. For those who don't remember, he was brought in from the Bengals as a special teams player, but ended up being one of the main linebackers due to all the injuries. Flowers had 3.5 sacks last year, so he adds pass rush, but even more importantly, he adds good coverage, which is something the Patriots lacked extremely at linebacker. I think Flowers will see a decent amount of snaps this year at linebacker, and is a guarantee to make this 53-man roster because of his ability to cover, rush, and play special teams. The Patriots then drafted Christian Sam, who again is a great run stopper and is a fast linebacker who is decent in coverage, could prove to possibly be a player like Marquise Flowers. Like I mentioned before, the Patriots brought in Juwan Bentley, who is a great ground and pound linebacker, but he isn't fast and can't cover well. But he is a very strong linebacker, and I believe we could possibly even see him play the edge if need be. I think Bentley could easily take Eldon Roberts' spot if it came down to it, as Eldon Roberts was mainly a run-stopping linebacker, but was proved that he can't even do that. So what's the point in having a linebacker who is just randomly on the field? Lastly is Van Noy, who has showed to be the second best linebacker on this team. Once Hightower went down, Van Noy became the #1 linebacker. He was able to cover, blitz, and line up at the edge, and like I mentioned before, Hightower and him can both play on the outside, which will help in coverage and stopping the run, which the Patriots struggled with last season tremendously. And lastly, the fifth reason on how the Patriots defense got better is one word: leadership. This might be something you're like, Patriots Global, what are you talking about? How did this make the Patriots defense better? But believe it or not, this will be one of the biggest impacts this season. Before I get into specifics, I'm going to give you an example. Do you remember when the Patriots signed Stephon Gilmore? Everyone was hype and thought this defense will be elite and it will be a no-fly zone, but oh boy, was it the exact opposite. Gilmore came into the organization cocky and full of himself, thinking he could do things on his own. It's actually the reason that the Buffalo Bills let him go. He wouldn't communicate, and it would result in the other team making plays. In the beginning of the season, the same thing happened with the Patriots. Gilmore didn't care about his teammates and actually saw them as competition rather than family. If you remember, there were multiple times that Gilmore wasn't on the same page as the rest of the defense, and it resulted in touchdowns and massive yardage. As time went by through the season, Gilmore realized that he needed to play as a team, and that's when he made less mistakes and became a shutdown cornerback for the New England Patriots. The defense last year was everything but on the same page. They were extremely divided, and when you play on your own island, you play how Gilmore did. This offseason, the Patriots added Jason McCourty, who is brother of Devin McCourty, for those of you who don't know, and he is a familiar face with a lot of the players on the Patriots. It's kind of like when you have a friend and they transfer to your school, you know them and your friends kind of know them also. McCourty brings leadership and motivation to this Patriots defense, along with a familiar face, which is always good for being on the same page. This backfield will see a huge upgrade because of the connection that these players are going to have. With Matthew Slater, Devin McCourty, Jason McCourty, and Dante Hightower, and actually even Duron Harmon, this team, especially the defense, will see a huge boost in confidence and hype. But that's it for today's video, guys. Tell me what you guys think of this in the comments below. And other than that, take care, Pats Nation. We'll